This video was just published an hour ago. I want to see what CNBC has to say because I know a lot of reasons why US won't be able to stop him, but I want to see what they say. So here we go.
China has become the world's largest auto exporter.
$9,200 equivalent US dollars.
Chinese automakers are going to come here eventually, and they're going to do it regardless of if there's a tariff or not.
40 years ago or so, the Chinese...
They are for sure coming. There's no doubt about it. Like, I don't know if you guys seen VinFast. They're a Vietnamese company, and they are coming.
Auto industry barely existed. Today, the country makes...
And the reason why I brought up VinFast is because VinFast is making a cheaper version of the EV, even though the car has horrible reviews across the board. But it's good enough to be a daily driver, and it's cheap, right? It's like 90% there. They just need to get the software right.
Enough cars to supply half the world.
I call it the Great Godzilla. The world has never seen an auto industry of this size, scale. This is a giant machine just getting ramped up.
And it has its eyes on the United States, which, thanks to China's rise, is now the second largest car market on the planet. There are no Chinese car brands for sale in...
Like, in the 90s, 2000s, it was the U.S. was trying to find a way to get into China, right? China did all these things. They put up all these tariffs and just blocks, finding ways to block them to like go into China. And at the end of the day, they got in. And a lot of people that I knew when I was growing up, they wanted American cars. Like my aunt was like, they bought a Cadillac when I was like super young. I don't remember. I know it was like before I was 9 because that's when I came to the US.
In the U.S. at the moment, although a few other ones like Volvo, Polestar, and Lotus are Chinese-owned.
Yep.
But insiders say it's only a matter of time. The country has been ramping up exports to offload overcapacity. Surveys indicate a large share of shoppers, especially younger ones, would be happy to buy a Chinese car, despite concerns over privacy, etc.
Privacy is not like privacy over there is not that high of a concern, right? Like there's tech people who are like, of course, that if you know, right? But majority average people don't have that concern. Like there was a video I watched a while ago of this girl interviewing a bunch of kids in front of college, and she was showing them the Xiaomi car, and they were like, bro, like take my money. Right? If they could afford it, they'd be like, just take my money, because it's a really nice looking car and it's made by a brand that they all grew up with. Like Xiaomi is a very big brand. So they didn't even care. Like the whole privacy was like an afterthought.
But not everyone shares the enthusiasm. President Biden slapped Chinese automakers with stiff tariffs, effectively doubling the price of a Chinese export EV, which can otherwise be at least as cheap as $11,500. Within the auto industry, opinions vary, but many say tariffs might not be that effective in the long run and may do more harm than good. So, what are the alternatives? We asked some industry insiders to find out.
For the Detroit 3, for Toyota, for Hyundai, to compete well against these Chinese brands, it's going to take something more than simply raising the tariff from 25% to 100%.
Yep, because they will eat it. They will eat the tariffs to get the inventory out.
I'm not exaggerating when I say what China, the challenge that China is presenting.
Look at that. Look at all those Xiaomi cars.
Unprecedented. In the case of the Japanese and Koreans, when they came into the United States, we were able to persuade, maybe coerce a little bit. Hey, if you want to sell here, you have to build your transplant here, but they could own it. And they were our allies. And ultimately, they were more dependent on us than we were on them. They were more. In China's case, we don't have that kind of leverage with them.
Look at that Polestar.
China has the capacity to make half the world's cars, 4 times as many as the U.S. typically makes. Annual demand in the country is about 25 million units. That leaves 15 million cars for export, nearly as many as the US can sell in a good year.
Damn.
China sent 5 million cars to over 100 countries in 2023, making it one of the largest exporters in the world.
You see Chinese cars now in virtually every market except for the United States and Canada. And because there's so much capacity at home and the market at home has a price war,
keep in mind, yes, Chinese cars are not in Canada yet, but the buses here in Canada are made by BYD.
Chinese automakers themselves are super motivated to get out and push their products into Europe, the United States.
A mix of favorable policies and a booming economy got them to where they are today. China welcomed foreign automakers into the country beginning in the 1980s, and especially after some policy changes in the following decade. Rules were simple. Foreign firms could sell cars in the country as long as they partnered with a local Chinese automaker. Chinese firms also made some cross-border investments. Chinese automaker Geely bought cars from Ford, for example. And finally, many companies are government-owned, and even private firms receive generous subsidies. EV maker BYD received $3.7 billion between 2018 and 2022, for example.
In state capitalism, the objective is we're going to build a world powerhouse auto industry. To get there, we need great companies, but by the way, at the local, provincial, and federal level, we'll also offer all kinds of help. So the Western...
Look at that Xiaomi car. Look at the fingerprints.
But Chinese companies have also built strong products.
When they came to the
for sure.
Show 15 years ago, their cars were not competitive. You could see the quality issues with those vehicles as you sat in them, as you played around with them. Now, those cars are much higher quality. They are very competitive once they hit the ground.
And they pay attention to all the configuration of every seat in the car, not just the driver's cockpit. That's what I think.
There's some
obsolete.
There's some Huawei cars. Like, oh my goodness, like those Huawei cars that I have seen, oh my god, it's so nice inside. Yes, Huawei. It's so nice. And there was that one other car, I think is made by BYD, that they can do 360 turns. Oh, that car is so good. It's like at one point it was driving and like it was like a boat or something. I was like, what the F?
It's the traditionally designed and styled vehicle.
Bill Russo, a former Chrysler executive, says the Chinese have been extremely successful in developing new business models based around software and services. Many recent entrants have backgrounds in technology, electronics, and mobile devices markets.
When the iPhone came, the Nokia products went away quickly. That's what's happening in China now in the car business.
American consumers are also receptive to Chinese cars.
Yeah.
Nearly half of respondents in a
I know one of my friends, one of my good friends, he's like, he wanted to buy one of the BYD cars. He wanted to get rid of his Tesla for one of the BYD cars. The only problem was the import. Like, he was stuck on that. If you were to import that same car to, I think at the time he was in North Carolina, it would have cost like 40% more than his Tesla Model 3 Performance. I was like, dude, just don't buy it. Just keep your Tesla.
Recent surveys said they are familiar with Chinese vehicle brands, and 76% under the age of 40 said they would consider buying a Chinese car. Consideration then declined significantly among older consumers. Grappling with this new reality, tariffs have become a popular political tool, especially with former President Trump beginning in 2018. Auto executives at the time, famously Tesla CEO Elon Musk, decried what they considered an imbalance between U.S. and Chinese trade rules.
Well, think about this, right? Like Elon understands what's happening because Tesla is being wiped, like literally wiped. The amount of cars that he sees that, like, I don't know if he personally sees them, but like the younger generation in China doesn't care. They don't care about Tesla. They want to buy the local product because it looks nicer. Inside Tesla, it looks bland. You just have a screen. Like, maybe a minimalist will like it, but man, the cars in China inside, it just looks nice. It looks luxurious. Like, it feels nice. Unfortunately, Tesla just can't compete in that regard. And over there, he doesn't have that monopoly on chargers, because China like has electric chargers everywhere.
Lately, it is the Biden administration who is focused on tariffs. First and foremost, EVs. Tariffs on them will increase from 25% to 100% in 2024. The administration says China's
so
extensive
stupid.
subsidies and non-market practices have led to substantial risks of overcapacity. Chinese EV exports grew 70% from 2022 to 2023. They're also raising tariffs on an array of materials used in car making. Lithium-ion batteries, graphite, magnets, steel, aluminum, and semiconductors. China controls more than 80% of certain segments of the EV battery supply chain, the administration said. That leaves U.S. supply chains vulnerable and risks national security and clean energy goals. Some politicians are pushing for even harder restrictions. The industry's response is mixed. Labor leaders are in support for obvious reasons. So is the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, the auto industry's major trade association. Tesla CEO Elon
Of course, we all know that. Especially like nobody can bring down the cost of electric cars in the US, right? No brand. The reason why electric cars are failing at the moment is that we have super high inflation. People's salaries are not going up, and the cost of electric cars is not coming down. So nobody's going to buy them. And they know that if China comes in, they're going to bring those cheaper electric cars that just have like those maybe 200 miles, 150 mile your daily driver. Something that you could just go to work, go to grocery store. Like if I were to buy one of those cars, I would be totally fine as the second car or even my first car, because all I go is house, school, drop off the wife, and back home and to the grocery store. That's all I do. I need less than 100 miles.
Elon Musk criticized the tariffs, but even he had said earlier in 2024 that without trade barriers, most Western automakers would be demolished by Chinese competition. They can sell EVs cheaper than the cheapest fuel-burning cars, and according to some, are way ahead of competition in software and tech. But Russo is skeptical of tariffs. The Trump-era trade war may have been a missile aimed at Beijing, but it landed squarely on Detroit, he once wrote. Two things happened. First, the trade war drove up the costs of a lot of parts American automakers sourced from China or elsewhere. GM and Ford both reported that the Trump tariffs in 2018 saddled them each with an additional $1 billion in steel and aluminum costs. Secondly, it likely accelerated the globalization of Chinese companies looking to circumvent trade rules by making investments beyond their own borders.
They're building factories in Mexico. They're building factories all over the world. Africa, Middle East, Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Southeast Asia. There's never been a bigger effort by China to de-Chinize
That makes sense.
its supply chain than right now.
If elected, Donald Trump pledged to place a 100% duty on any car made in Mexico by a Chinese company. Policy analysts say doing so would violate the terms of the very agreement Trump made with Mexico. It might also cause further friction with the country, which in 2023 became the U.S.'s largest trading partner. In any event, executives like Russo argue that these measures are delaying the inevitable. American firms need to face up to the fact that Chinese companies have extremely competitive and attractive products, and American consumers want them.
Yeah.
You can make aspirational products affordable with configurations that surprise and delight the users of that platform. That's a universal value proposition. And sorry, Americans buy Chinese stuff and have been for decades, have been enjoying the benefits of that in terms of affordability forever. If you shut that off, all you're going to do is make it more expensive.
There are alternatives.
Take a page from what China did 30 years ago when it was just starting out, and it said, hey, you want to come into our market, the United States? Welcome. But by the way, in order to sell here, you have to manufacture here. You have to build.
Yeah, just like remember what US is. US is controlled by the companies. Like, at least this is my opinion, right? Like, US is controlled by corporations in the United States. All those alliances, when you see who's behind all those alliance of automotive, whatever, it's all just car companies. If they tell the politicians, the people that they donate to, hey, don't let these people in, they're not going to let them in.
Plants here. And when you manufacture here, you have to form a joint venture with an American company that'll own half of the business. Oh, okay. And by the way, we'd like you to export from America too, so that we get extra benefits of you being here.
We could do the same. That's called flipping the script. The problem isn't that we have to keep them out. The problem is we should let them in to give ourselves the benefits of the DNA that they've been able to create, and then, but do it under a guided process. Do it with policy. And right now, nobody's writing those policies. Nobody's writing policies that allow some of the benefits of globalization and scale and
Right. Nobody's writing those policies because the corporation is writing those policies. The corporations, all those people that are in Michigan or Detroit or whatever, they don't want those people in. They want those guys to stay out. They want all the Chinese companies to stay out. Why do you just like what's happening to TikTok right now? They want them out. Google, Facebook, they want TikTok to be out.
product configurations and technologies to flow back to the Western world. And that's going to really weaken it's not going to help the industry. It's going to weaken the industry if we don't allow that to happen.
And even though there are no Chinese branded cars for sale in the US yet, more than 100 Chinese-owned automotive companies have a presence in the United States already. They are concentrated in Detroit and Silicon Valley, and there are Chinese auto suppliers scattered across 30 US states.
But you'd never know it because we don't see Chinese cars on American roads, so it doesn't occur. No, what? That can't possibly be true, but it is. They're here. They're getting ready for the time when it's right to enter and sell their car to Americans.
Look at that. It looks really nice. It looks like a Honda Accord. Man, like you see that video, right? They have a video why China is done with American cars. Because American cars are not competing. They got lazy. They're not changing it up, man. They're not getting to the point where it's like, right now people can't afford the cars, so we're gonna make cheaper cars so that we can sell to them. No, they're not doing that. The cheapest car nowadays, I'm in Canada, so let's go to Ford. Let's go to Ford.ca. Let's go to vehicles. Hold on, let me change it to English first. Let's go to Ford, SUV and cars. Look at this. The cheapest car here is the Ford Escape. It's $35,000. $35,000 Canadian. I can buy an electric car, and it's super cheap to charge over there also. I don't know. Like, I really don't know. But I totally see why, like, US is so afraid, because Chicago, Detroit, I don't keep thinking Chicago. Detroit is really like scared of China coming in just because of all those cheap cars. Like Xiaomi car. I am with those people. Like the Xiaomi car, I'm such a fan of it. Okay, this is not the website. I want to see. Damn it, this is scooters. Where is the car? Okay. Damn it. It just looks really nice. I don't know. The car looks really nice. 700 kilometers. Okay, that's the regular range. Okay, this is the SU7 Max. 810 kilometers. That's great. I gotta tell you. So yeah, for sure, man. I personally cannot wait for these brands to come to Canada because I would rather drive a Chinese car. Gotta tell you, represent. You know what I mean? Keeping it red, baby. 5 stars. You know what I mean? That's right. Best reviews. China. 5 stars. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next video.